Luca Nation, welcome back to your weekly fractional episode with Cage and Mr. Goldberg, myself here, and it's been a crazy week in NFL. We're recording this as the 4 p.m. games are just starting, so we'll see what happens. But a lot of upsets, a lot of unpredictable plays, and before we get into that, man, I got to give a shout out. As we're kind of going down this whole journey of a podcast becoming a business, working with sponsors, you meet so many different people, and I got to give a shout out to the Collectible team. They're always so prompt and diligent. They send us this kind of breakdown of data and analysis of what's going down in their marketplace every week. I got to give a shout out, man. Dan does an amazing job. Alex does an amazing job. Marino, you do an amazing job. So just want to give a shout out because it's working with good people makes this a lot easier. And guys, I've been playing with the app this week. I don't know if you've realized they've made quite a few adjustments, quite a few updates. So now there's kind of simple things like biggest gainers, biggest losers. There's which indices are going up, by what percentage. It's just a lot of updates to the app, and I want to give a shout out to the whole Collectible team for being so professional to work with. So before we get into our episode, I wanted to do that. We haven't done that ever, so you got to give credit where credit's due, right?
Listen, not chasing them for anything. That's the key, right? Don't chase them for anything. When you're weighing all the options out there of who to utilize, and obviously we are a paid partner, right? So we got to make sure we say that right from the jump. But when you're weighing your options, what we can tell you is as a partner of theirs, we're not chasing them for anything. They deliver when they set a deadline. They say they're going to deliver something by. We get it when we're supposed to get it, and you can't really say that about everybody in the hobby or in business. You know what I mean? So
Gage, Vegas is 2 months away. I don't know if you've booked your tickets, but I'm pretty excited for Vegas.
I'm gonna walk there if I have to. I don't even care about tickets.
You're gonna walk there. You're gonna hitchhike.
Yeah, man. It seems like
pick you
every
up.
day the Mint Collective every day announces a new partner, from Black Jaded Wolf to eBay to there's a million other people to cool folks speaking.
I want to throw down with Dana White. I want to see if he wants to spar.
Dude, that guy. Did you see he put $100,000 on Canelo to win by knockout yesterday?
Is that right?
Yeah.
What happened there? Like it was a close fight until the end, and then the guy just he
listen. Body punches will get you. Body punches will get you by the end of it. You're boxing now. Body punches,
I'm a month in. I don't know shit.
They don't look like much, but the body punches they'll get you afterwards. Crazy night of fights. Crazy night of combat sports, UFC. We had some fun this morning on our Whatnot show. Sold some stuff way too cheap. Congratulations to everybody who buys stuff from it. You're getting stuff at like 40% eBay. So good for you guys. But it's fun.
We'll start selling NBA stuff. Like NFL, like wide receivers are a tough sell regardless.
Yep.
So obviously they're going to sell for less. Cage, before we jump in,
shoot.
I did this in February too. And I don't know if people do this or not, but I think it's important, like taking a step back to kind of objectively look at what's going on in the market. I wanted to ask you, kind of like a quarterly, hobby update. Josh Luber did one. I think it's worthwhile to hear Cage's.
I like Josh's. But let me tell you something. All right, what I would tell you is, I would change the title to "Sports Cards Have Always Been Cool." Right? It's not that they've turned cool in the last 6 months or the last 18 months or whatever it is, just because folks are big money are in it now. This has been a cool hobby, a cool thing to collect for a while, and yeah, we make jokes how we're out of the basement now, but when you're a kid, collecting cards doesn't put you in the basement. Collecting cards was cool. And let's remember, this is a kid's hobby. It's something we did as kids, and that is what draws money back to it. It's a nostalgia thing, right? It's oh, I did that as a kid. Oh, I had that card as a kid. Oh, I liked Bo Jackson, or I liked Ken Griffey Jr. I rooted for Steve Young and Joe Montana and John Elway or whoever it is, and that's what brings you back. We sometimes miss that in the whole big business thing. It is what it is. So state of the hobby last quarter, we're entering into give the card ladder guys some credit. I'm pretty sure they invented this term, right? That Bermuda Triangle October kind of fall thing. And
Where
you're
a
going to
lot of people
see
go
it.
back to watching sports, so they're less likely to bet on sports type of thing. Less likely to buy cards and bet on kind of players because they're busier watching sports and all that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only that. It's, we talked about it a couple weeks ago how, wow, this is awesome for watching sports. It was awesome because we had the World Series was playing, right? The World Series was playing. Basketball was just starting. You had that, oh, it's awesome, the beginning of the season, right? Football had just kicked off. Hockey was kicking off. It's like, how do you beat that? But for the hobby, for the collectibles, peel that back a layer. Sure, it was the World Series and that's fun. If you happen to have a collectible of someone in the two teams in the World Series and not the other 28 teams, not the other teams that had been knocked out. If you weren't holding Mookie Betts hoping that the Dodgers were going to make the World Series, if you weren't holding somebody who had been eliminated, Yankees or whoever it may be, right? So, yeah, it's fun for you to watch as a sport consumer, but as somebody in the hobby, not so much, unless you happen to be a Freddie Freeman collector or, Ozzy Albies, right? So that's one, right? Two, basketball. Sure, it started. But as soon as you get that fun of like what could be out of the way and you actually get 10% of the season done and see what is, which is LeBron's injured ass and the Bucks not in the playoffs right now and the Knicks pretending like they could actually play and just basketball turned up on its head, you're sitting here going like, what the hell am I doing? And everybody's reassessing their collection. Michael Porter Jr. is being sold for nickels on the dollar now, and Jokic, even though he's doing great, gets no respect at all. And the Golden State Warriors look great, and people are like, wow, Steph, should I be buying more Steph and selling my LeBron? What's going on with Luka? He finally hit a game winner. Trey's talking about how he's bored. So yeah, it's fun. You have all that excitement leading up to the season, but you combine baseball done, and no one's talking about it anymore. You got basketball. All of a sudden, half the people were investing in Giannis is kind of playing a little bit like poo. Now,
How much does holiday gift buying and holiday season
it
have
will
to do with
impact it. It'll impact it, but I'll get to the holiday stuff in a sec. For right now, for where we are right now, because when we look at the data this week, I think this is a great lead question for the data, right? Because it's like ho-hum. It's like the doldrums, right? It really is. And football, you'd figure football would be the way to go, right? But football, and we've talked about this, two things with football, and this year is even crazier. This is the time where people are like, they get tired, right? There's like a little bit of like,
it's
like a little fatigue.
Mid-season lull.
It's season lull, right? And add to that, this
Everyone's
season is
injured.
nuts. You got injuries all over the place and parity like you wouldn't believe. It's a crazy season, man. Danny Dimes looked like he might actually be an NFL quarterback today, right? Kyler Murray's out with DeAndre Hopkins out, the team that was
a great
undefeated.
word, Cage, by the way. It got me thinking it. Tell me if this is true or false in your opinion. Parity that makes for bad sports card buying experiences.
It does. It really does because listen, people like certainty. Parity causes uncertainty. It causes the Dallas Cowboys to be losing 30-0 to the Denver Broncos that just traded Von Miller. And you think they're waving the flag, right?
You're sitting there thinking, is Dak a good investment or not?
Yeah, what about all my Dak money? Exactly.
Last week he was amazing. Now he's what?
Yeah, Justin Herbert, man, the guy couldn't lose, and now he can't win, and all the money on Patrick Mahomes is all being burned now, and Josh Allen just lost to the Jaguars. You know what I mean? It's like what's safe, right? What's going on here? And what's funny about that is you'll see that in the numbers. You'll see that when we talk about this week, and it's okay to understand that it might not be the best time to jump in.
Do you agree with this, Gage? So, let's talk about Josh Allen, right?
Shoot.
Sometimes the buying of a card is not by new people; it's by the investor doubling down on their investment, right? So, when you see a Josh Allen, you're not going to see a lot of selling this week either. You're not going to see a ton of buying. That, as we're kind of referencing the data here, it's very ho-hum and flat. Is part of it like, okay, I'm not going to sell off my Josh Allen because I know he's good, but I'm definitely not going to double down on my investment after seeing this. I'm not doubling down on my Mahomes investment after seeing this. I'm not doubling down on Herbert, right? Because you remember when you were buying Devontae, you doubled down on him a few times. Not like you bought all the lots. When I was buying Zion, I didn't buy all of the cards at once. I bought a few before he stepped on the court, a few after seeing that San Antonio Spurs game. You kind of double down when you don't have the parity that we were talking about, when you have a bit of certainty.
Yeah, and when you're up, right? The people who might buy again are ones who are like, they have a $10,000 Mahomes that they're only into for $1,000, right? And if it falls to 7 or 8, you could buy 2 and now have 2 of them at 8. You know what I mean? Like, I can definitely see that. But yeah, parity's nuts, man. It really is. And the NFL this year, who's the best team in the NFL? Who?
It gets me thinking. Business NFTs are the best investment because we don't get injured and we show up every day.
Well, listen, I agree with that, but hey, it is what it is. I mean, what I will tell you is half of me wants to say swing that pendulum over to vintage, right? Swing it into GOATs because there's no parity in GOATs.
I don't think that's you saying that. I think that's an observation that you've seen after watching cycle after cycle. Anytime the uncertainty pendulum swings one direction, the money moves to vintage because that's where there's more certainty.
Yep, people are nervous. People take a little bit of a hit, or people cash out and take some profit on their stuff. But here's the problem with that, even, right? And we've talked about this. As you peel back the layer of that onion, right? Part of the reason the vintage cards go up is because the modern stuff goes up, right? Part of the reason Brady's cards go up is because he's still playing at a high level. But Montana's cards, right, and Rice's cards, and other football greats, Emmitt Smith, Unitas, Jim Brown, whoever it is, those cards go up because people see Patrick Mahomes rookie at $10,000, and they say, okay, a similarly situated, similar pop card of Joe Montana can't be less than that. You know what I mean? It can't be less than because Mahomes didn't do what Montana did, right? Now they see Josh Allen, they see Justin Herbert, right? And at least prior to where we are right now, you knew one of those guys was going to come out, right? You knew you might not pick the right one, but somebody's card's going to go up in value, right? And Montana was safe, right? Montana was safe. Brady was safe-ish because, yeah, Mahomes might not go up. Allen might not go up. Kyler might not go up. But someone's going to go up. Someone's value is going to increase, and that's going to be steady because Montana's going to be better than whoever that person is, right? But right now with the parity, you don't know which one of them is going to go up. So none of them are going up because week over week, Herbert might win. Mahomes might win. Josh Allen just put up a real stinker. First time ever Josh Allen sacked Josh Allen.
First time ever Josh Allen sacked Josh Allen. Yeah. First time ever Josh Allen intercepted Josh Allen. And then first time ever forced fumbled by Josh Allen.
I mean, just amazing stuff, right? Josh Allen. Josh Allen, no middle name.
Did you see how happy Urban Meyer was? It looked like he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, he'll go out and celebrate later. No cameras allowed, though, folks. No cameras allowed. But hey, I mean,
there should be more parties like that, like where you got to lock up your phones and kind of just be there and be present.
That would be kind of cool. I tell my kids that every time we sit down for a meal. We all take our phones, put them over to the side of the kitchen island. No phones, no headphones, and unfortunately, you folks will have to speak to me for the 10 minutes during nuggets and fries or whatever it is that's going in your gullet. But
it's not so bad. You're a pretty funny dude.
I try my best.
I met Julie. I mean, if you're funny, man, she's a talker. She's hilarious.
They do not think I'm funny. They think it's miserable that I'm taking them away from their games, right? Their YouTubes and their games, their Fortnites and whatever the hell else they got going on. But yeah, man. I mean, listen, this sounds like a run-on from the two of us, but you really have to use this as a backdrop for what you're doing with your money, right? Because this is what the backdrop of the hobby is right now. A lot of parity in the NFL, which is in the middle of its season. No baseball being played. Basketball, right? Teams are kind of finding themselves. It's a little bit topsy-turvy, a little upside down, and we're gonna get into the middle of that season soon too.
I think a lot, Cage. I mean, I think a lot like in such scenarios or like little times like this of the word stimulus, right? Like we've seen what stimulus payments do the last 12 to 13 years, but I also think of like each sub-industry or like industry has their own stimulus, right?
Yep.
When a new influencer comes in or a new business guy comes in and buys a lot of Bitcoin, it stimulates the whole market, right? It's a new buyer of an older security. So everybody, it kind of dissipates throughout the community. I think a lot about liquidity, right? Like if everybody's 90% into cards of all of their net worth and there's no new buyers coming in, you're not going to see a lot of volume. Prices might not go down, right, which is good, but they're also not going to go up. And it's kind of this really interesting flat period. Might be a good opportunity to kind of reevaluate your portfolio right? I always like to take a step back, right? Because I look at this week, and it's been for a few weeks, but just kind of flat data. Nothing going up, nothing going
Yep.
down. A few micro kind of cosms of like, hey, Kevin Durant started the season well,
Mm-hmm.
so his
Mm-hmm.
stuff's going up, but it's outliers. There's no trends. There's no patterns, at least that I've seen. Do you concur? Have you spotted?
Concur entirely. No, I mean,
Like,
listen, performance matters, right? Durant has looked real good. We've talked about Durant's cards, and we even talked about a couple weeks ago how Durant's card on Collectible was higher than comps. But as basketball season started, we said last week for the first time there were comps that were slightly higher than what it was on Collectible, and that corrected, right? So we've been watching that card. I remember talking about that card in August, saying that it was high, right? I remember talking about it from when I was on vacation doing the episode, saying how it was high, but that it's going to, the comps are going to come up, and if it's coming down, you'll see a cross, and we did. But the reason for that, why that card made sense, is Durant is playing really well, right?
yes.
Durant is playing really well. I mean, he's top in the league in scoring. He's not injured. You know, his team doesn't look bad even without Kyrie. You know, you expect them to turn it on, and you expect him to be relevant. And he's remaining culturally relevant and hobby relevant. The dude seems to be invested in almost everything that happens in the hobby.
He
Know
really
what I
is,
mean?
dude. Rich Kleiman, I've never met the man. I'm sure we're gonna meet him in Vegas in a few of these shows. The guys picks winners, man. The guy just picks winners.
So Durant makes sense, and it also should make sense to everybody why Zion's cards are going down across the board, right? I mean, to me, it makes sense. But here's a thought, and let me talk about this.
I got
right?
a little
Let me talk about
cage
this,
grin
right?
here.
Well, because listen, Zion, right? We'll talk about Luka. We'll talk about Mahomes, but like Zion, for example, there's a bunch of his cards on here. But let's just look at like the Zion Blue Prism BGS 10, down like 3.5, a lot of negative press after it was down 5% and 10%. It's only been trading now in secondary for 3 weeks, and there's a national treasures. All of Zion's cards are going down, and rightfully so. And they may continue that slide over the next couple weeks. I will watch that, right? And if you're somebody that keeps an eye on the news, maybe follows Pelicans beat reporter. This week they said it's at least 2 to 3 weeks. But some of those guys out there, I forget what was that guy's name, because I used to watch the Hornets stuff all the time. Oh man, I should have looked that one up. But I'll get his name, right? The Hornets beat reporter. And maybe you find out, okay, it looks like Zion tested out the ankle, has tested out his foot,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden he it looks like he might come back this week. That week, if you can time it right? I said his prism cards, base cards, you name it, are going to go up. These cards will go up. There will be an uptick. So even though I'm not telling you to invest in Zion long term, right? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I'm not saying Zion's going to be a world beater. As a matter of fact, I'm a little more nervous about him than I was coming into the season because of size and the whole 9 yards. There will come a point in time this season where he comes back, whether it's after the All-Star break or whatever it is. And if you monitor that, right, that week these cards are going to go up, right? I mean, it's just that's my opinion, right? Because that's just what happens. There's some excitement built up about his return. And the last time he came back from injury, the dude was hitting 3-pointers.
I was just going to say that.
Go ahead.
I was literally just thinking that because I think they're going to bring him back in right around that same time frame, right?
Yep.
Right before the All-Star break, you get 7 to 10 games in, then you have an extended rest, and then you finish the season, which is like 30 games, right? I think that's perfect, right? A 40-game season for Zion. And here's the benefit of that, right?
Yep.
He's going to be fully rested, fully recovered. He'll probably be in better shape by that time, right? He has 2 months to get in shape. And he's not going to have the wear and tear on his body that the rest of the guys who played the full season. And I think you're going to see him dominate. I really do. The only challenge I have, Cage, is I always buy too soon, right? This is one that you could sit on your hands for a little bit.
Yep, 100%.
Sometimes if you have discipline, dollar cost averaging is it works. Like David Peck is a big fan of that. So he has the discipline. He's a financial guy. He knows every 2 weeks, no matter what, I'm going to put $100 into Zion's blue BGS 10. If you have that discipline, I think that's a smart strategy.
Yes, if you could dollar cost average, because that means you're paying attention, you're on here.
Timing's hard, Cage, because you could be late too.
You're right, 100%, and that's a good way to do it. I say the other thing is listen to us, right? So you can always get an advantage if you are educated, more educated, and you're not going to get this anywhere,
rebranding,
right?
Guys, as the Fade King.
You ready? Will Guillory, All right, Will Guillory.
Will
He is the New Orleans beat writer for The Athletic. Jim Eichenhofer, all on Twitter, right? So Jim _ Eichenhofer, EICHENHOFER. That's the Pelicans beat writer for Hoop and Slam. And Christian Clark, who is the Pelican beat writer for the NOLA News. Follow him on Twitter.
You think our
Follow
community?
Just do a quick 3. Follow those 3 guys on Twitter if you're interested in this play, right? So you could dollar cost average, or you can just once a day watch what these guys tweet. Right now, they're talking about Brandon Ingram's injury. Right, their tweets are all going to be about the Pelicans. Right, so check it when you wake up. You're going to get a tweet about this. Maybe one morning you'll get a tweet. Zion looks like he's ahead of schedule. Zion worked out with the team yesterday. Looks great. They think he's going to be back next week. And then that day you get on and you trade, right? You're using information that's readily available. You now know where to look for it, right? So, yeah, I do think that our audience should be able to find these folks. I'll give you the Twitter page. It's at Jim _ EICHENHOFER. Jim Eichenhofer at Twitter. Go ahead. It's going to be there, and he's going to give you the information. So, I mean, this is not that difficult. You're laughing, but it's good info.
What do you think is going to happen to LeBron cards on Collectible?
They're already starting to go down. I don't know if you noticed that, but they're already starting to go down. This past week, they started to go down because, look, there's a lot of hype and bluster and stuff built into, LeBron starting the season off. People think he's going to win another championship. People could think he's going to, start off like a house on fire and just, run away with it, right? Nope. I mean, I like to look at what's going on almost everything, and I look at the ones that are down week over week. A couple of them were LeBron. The LeBron Ultimate was down, right? That was $9.35 a share last week, down to $8.50 a share. So that card was down almost 10%, right? I'm trying to think. There was another LeBron that was down. I mean, point being, guys, the LeBron cards, people are already... he got injured. People are already looking at him and saying, all right, this is going to be a long season. And listen, don't get me wrong, guys.
He didn't go there to win, guys. Sorry to burst your bubble. Sorry to burst your bubble, LeBron lovers. He went there for the fame. And that's why he brought all his crony friends over there. So he could make them and put them into movies and all that stuff. Yeah, he won a BS bubble type of championship that has an asterisk, and anyone who's watched it, and I predicted that they would win that cage. I think that's an asterisk type of championship.
The LeBron Black Diamond was also down. That's only in its second week of trading. It was also down. But yeah, I mean, listen, it's an interesting thing. What would I look for Monday morning? Just started off trading. It opened up back at secondary at 6. Jump up from 5. There is a Trevor Lawrence basket on Collectible, right?
No, that was the one I talked about. Those the gold label SGCs.
The Leaf Pro Set SGC gold basket, the one you talked about, right? But I mean, they beat the Bills. Come on, man. Performance matters. And listen, he showed a little toughness too. He got taken out. He had to sit out for a couple plays.
That's a great tagline. Performance does matter.
It does, man. Performance does matter. I mean, if I were, whether it's a men's pill or sports cards, it doesn't make a difference, man. Or a car, like a Corvette.
We've got our tagline.
Performance matters. 100% does.
Do you think Luka cards go up over on Monday?
Luka had that game winner, and I'd like to think that that's like the start of something. By itself, it's not. By itself, it's one shot. One shot that leads to one win, right? SGA had one shot that led to one win. I don't think that's going to make SGA's cards fly.
Do you see how much worse the Mavs are with Porzingis on the court? They were literally 32 points worse with him.
The spacing's bad with him. I don't know. It's very weird, man. He clogs the lane. He just doesn't space it out right. And he's not a bad player.
He's not a bad player. He's just slow now with his knee. Can I tell you if there's one industry that I'm bullish on, and I'm not going to invest in it because I don't know it well enough?
Soda?
No,
because of how much I drink.
One in the sports card space, soda's going to be here forever because apparently it's the most. It's liquid Coke. That's it. Basic.
That's what it is.
It's legal Coke.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah. F1, man. Every single place I go, dude. I went to my cafe here, and they're like, "Oh, we see you all the time. What do you do?" I said, dude, I have the stupidest job in the world. I just talk sports all day. They're like, oh, really? Formula One?
Yeah, there you
That was
go.
the first thing she said to me. Formula One. I love watching Formula One. That's insane. It taps into the modern fan, man.
I don't
I
get
think
it.
NBA does tap into the modern fan as well.
NBA, I get. Formula One, I don't get. I don't get Formula One. But I mean, look, you don't have to be a fan of every sport to understand why it
But when
appeals to the
NBA
masses,
started
right?
getting big in the 90s with Michael Jordan, weren't people saying the same thing? Like, I don't get why NBA is so big. Like, I'm a football and baseball guy.
You know what it is? It takes stars. It always takes stars, right?
Lewis
It
Hamilton?
takes stars, and Hamilton is a star right now, right? So Hamilton is a star, and in the '90s you had Jordan, but you also Shaq. Believe it or not, Shaq in '92 was huge. Shaq was just larger than life. That was the guy. I mean, he brought the hobby to new heights in '92, and people actually started looking for basketball cards. Before that, people were not looking for basketball cards. So yeah,
if you guys want to beat the curve, like and kind of buy something with conviction that's not popular, I gotta tell you, Shaq and Charles Barkley cards to me are the most underpriced cards out there. I don't know if that's their rookie, I don't know if that's their auto, but these two guys are some of the funniest guys on TV. Like if you talk about Charles never won a championship, right? Charles is the Ted Williams of the NBA, so sort of, and the guy's hilarious. The guy's going to be in culture forever. And I know his cards aren't that popular, that aren't that valued now, but if you're kind of trying to get around or beat, there's no trends right now, obviously, as you can see by this episode, from what we're seeing. Someone else could see something completely different. But Charles, man, he's going to be in culture for a very, very, very long time. Same with Shaq, man. Shaq's kids are coming up. They're growing up. I think he's going to be in culture for a long time, and I think he's going to be pretty revered.
I'll tell you what, one that still has some room in what we talked about last week, and I'll go at it again. Remember the Sidney Crosby Cup RPA basket, rejected 200,000 buyout offer, and we talked about how it was at 200,000 a week ago, and one trade brought it down, to I think it was 165 or something like that. So it traded up again this week after being up 33%, but still closed at only like 186. So it's still closed below what the buyout offer was, which shows that there's probably still a little bit of room there. It's still 10% below what the buyout. Do I have to just capitulate and say that I'm wrong about it? The Serena Net Pro. Every week it goes up, and every week I say, okay, it can't go up more than that. And then every week we get the data and it's up again. And it was up almost 18% this week.
Well,
it hasn't had a bad week flat. It's the worst week it's had in the last 6 weeks. Crazy.
Well, it's got this weird double. I don't know how. It's kind of the Nomar Garcia Paramir Ham thing because Serena's still playing and she's a stud and the best women's tennis player ever. It's not even close. And then you have Alex, right, who's her husband, who's one of the early investors in alt, a huge collector. So a lot of his friends are in the hobby very actively. I mean, Lefko, Lior, those guys. So there is a little bit of that there that if you're going to invest in tennis, you're going to buy a Serena card, So
I don't know. She's clearly the GOAT, right? I mean, so is that part of why it is that's a rookie. When you even though she's modern and still playing right now, there aren't that many options to go to for a Serena rookie. Everybody knows go get the Net Pro. So that's what it is. That's part of it. People weren't.
It shows no one cares about the brand because NetPro is just so terrible. I wonder if people are going to buy Djokovic's ace cards with that ugly silver sticker auto.
It's the only one, and people want to invest in it. Then yeah, that's the way to go. I mean, that's the story. So what do you think?
I will tell you, tennis cards are an interesting play. In the Nadal Federer is going to play in the Australian Open next year, and that's next January, so 2 months away. And those games, are you a tennis guy or no?
I have been to the U.S. Open a couple times. I have tried to play tennis every now and again as a younger man.
You don't have to try. You just do it. You
I can
hit
grunt
the ball
with
the racket.
No. When I say try, it means I tried to do it well. Yes, I have been on a tennis court and hit the ball. I have not been very successful at it. But like I said, I can grunt. I can do a Hingis grunt. I can grunt with the best of them. It's a good time. But yeah, man, I mean, tennis not my sport, but it's really funny to look at, right? So basketball this week, basically flat, up about 0.5% if you look at the indices across collectible. Baseball down 2 and change shouldn't surprise anybody. I have a feeling that is going to be flat or slightly down for the next couple months as people forget that baseball, is happening, right? Football down 6%. For reasons we talked about, right? Soccer slightly up. Hockey up 2 and change percent. Tennis cards up 17%. It's a money flow, right? And if people are losing interest or seeing fatigue in those major sports, the ones that, normally people be looking at, baseball's ending, football's right in the middle of it, basketball, you have some weird stuff going on. It's about to get to the middle of the season. People are looking at tennis. People are looking at hockey. People are looking at soccer. It's an interesting thing, man. It really is.
You know who does really well in times like this? Guys with experience that are young and can hustle. Like I'm thinking Sasha Tamadon, MC Sports Cards. Like those guys who buy up these lots and break them down and sell them one by one. They have a lot of success because there's no volatility. So they don't take on any risk, They just buy a lot and break it down and sell it, with a little 10%, 12% margin.
So I have a theory about a card. Not that I love it long term, but just as a way to play, as Collectible will give you, right? And let me get this out, and then I'm going to shut up. I'll put it on mute, and I want to hear your take on it. It's one of these like volleyball. Like I'm going to set it up for you, right?
When you say that, you've said that at least like 30 times. Like I'm going to say it, shut up, and mute. Like is that a threat? Like
no, because I don't want to step on your toes. Because I know
you don't
this
step
is something.
I've never said you stepped on my toes.
I know, but I do. But this is something that I know you have an idea about, right? So I'm feeding it to you. Ready? It is Tatum's flawless card that had a buyout, right? So there was a buyout rejected of $55,000. And the initial reaction, can you give me what your initial reaction to that buyout or offer being rejected was at the time?
I think it was expensive.
Correct. And we were a little surprised that the buyout was rejected. And even with the buyout rejected, what usually happens, the card goes up. This card went up this week. It didn't go up to the buyout. It went up to 48.3, up 5%. But would you like to talk about why I might think that card might be a buy over the next couple of weeks? Why?
Okay, so you like what I posted in the Discord, but I didn't say exactly that. What I did say was this is going to be a test for Tatum in this next 3 to 8 weeks. So Jaylen Brown's out with a hamstring injury, and now this is his team, right? Day in, day out, he's going to have to put up 30. There's no more one day is Jason Tatum, next day is Jaylen Brown. And what I said was, this is an interesting point for Tatum holders to see who is he really. Is he that guy? Is he the guy that you guys always said he's Luka? Or is he that guy that's a little bit closer to a much better Michael Porter? Jesus. So I think it's a good gamble because if in this next month, let's say hypothetically, he has 5 games of 40 points or more, he's going to get the shots. He's going to take 30 to 40 shots, right? At the end of the day, people don't realize points come from like, we're going to run this many plays for you. Like Kobe used to say, I'm going to take 40 to 50 shots a game. Did you know Jordan actually in a finals game took 49 shots and the Bulls lost one time? Anyway, so Tatum's going to get his 40 shots, his 35 shots. And if he puts up 5, 6, 40-point, 30-point games, I do think this moves. So he's going to have the opportunity. And he started out slow versus the Mavs yesterday, but he came on strong towards the end. They came back from 17 down. They should have won that game. I don't know if you were watching. They were up 2, and then they got an offensive rebound, and then Dennis Schroeder bounced it off Tatum's foot. So, momentum, man.
100% accurate. And I'm glad I went on mute because you couldn't have said it better. But here's the capper, the cherry on it. If you're a Tatum believer, now's the time. Now's the time. Because if you believe in Tatum, he's not going to get a run like this, right? They have to go to him, right? Jaylen Brown's not there. So you're going to see the most usage out of him, right? And it's a time to capitalize. And if he can't capitalize now, when is he going to? If he can't put up a string of 35, 40-point games, stat-filling fantasy games, when the team needs him to be that guy, it can't be 1A, 1B, him and Jaylen Brown, like you said, where, it could be either off of any night, right?
It's you're at the blackjack table, your buddy told you the deck is loaded. All the low cards are out. If you can't win now, when are you going to win? Like, I love the analogy.
Yeah, I mean, and there's no better way of saying it, right? I mean, he's going to have his run, right? So if you're not a believer in Tatum at all, then you probably should have taken that buyout offer. But clearly, there are believers on the platform of Tatum because they rejected the buyout, and the card is currently sitting less than what that buyout offer was, and that was before the Jaylen Brown injury, where he's going to be out now for a little while. So you would expect that Tatum's numbers are going to be good. And usually when somebody has good numbers, that is reflected in their card prices. So to me, that was the one that was eye-opening, Tatum this week, above all the other ones. We could talk about some other stuff. I'll let you
I wish
go
they
into
had, and I'll give you guys a little preview of tomorrow's play. I wish they had an OG Anunoby card on there.
Ooh.
He's someone he's really improved this game. If you guys get a chance to watch him, he's dynamic. And this Raptors team is coming into their own. OG is really good. Scotty Barnes is really good as well. So when his rookie card comes out, I think it's worth a look. And if you guys are actually on Prism Panini Direct, take a look. But I really like OG Anunoby, and that's going to be my play for tomorrow.
Nice. So, I mean, a couple things just to hit home from the last couple of weeks. We've talked about the same ones. That 0304 Exquisite Hobby Box, we said it was going to move up. It has continued to move up. It was up 13% and change this week to a market cap of 175. That
Cage.
golden, yeah, shoot.
Is that maybe a trend that because both of us are not wax guys. Like when there's uncertainty, back to like if we kind of just bring it full circle, if there's uncertainty, screw all this. I'm just going to buy hobby boxes. I'm just going to sit on inventory of the best classes. They can't all get injured like 2003. Like,
so yes. So good wax is the good way to go. Wax is interesting, man. Wax flies when there is a rookie class in it that people want to look for. Who is that rookie in the NBA this year?
No, I'm not saying this.
I know. But just to make the point, right? That's another thing we didn't touch on.
I think Scotty Barnes is going to be good, and I think I can't remember the other guy's name, but I think Scotty Barnes is going to be good.
Cade Cunningham.
Cade Cunningham is terrible. I told you guys that from day one. On Houston?
Yeah.
Not a fan. Jalen Suggs is who I was talking about.
Jalen Suggs, Orlando.
He's good. Yeah.
I mean,
pretty solid in like 25 years.
Very funny, right? But they couldn't win with Penny Hardaway and Shaq. I don't know when they would do it, but hey, that Houston team.
2012 Prism, 2003 anything. I think is going to be. I think 2003 anything is going to be so iconic because everyone wants a piece of LeBron, and if they don't get LeBron, they get Bosh or Wade or Melo or all these other guys, and they're happy with that. So I think 2003 is also an investment.
That 0304 Exquisite, it is a wax box that is made for something like Collectable. Right? When you have Nat Turner posting, I think he posted, I'm going to say his name wrong, Messiage Lampe, is that how you say his name, right? Right? He had an 0304 Exquisite rookie auto like the LeBron. Nat posted that one today.
He's making a set, right?
Right? Because he says, is this the greatest looking set ever?
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not buying a box of that and keeping it myself. I'm not buying a box for 2-3. I mean, look at it. It was $324,000 per box, $972,000 for the golden case, right? But fractional share, LeBron is LeBron. Those exquisite autos and all the other autos that are in there, Jordans and Kobe's and all the other crazy stuff that's in there, that you could potentially get. Sealed wax is a way to go, right? I mean, it's definitely one way, and it's definitely the type of item that this platform is built for. So I like that one. It's up, but it's still significantly below comps. Another card that was an interesting one, right? And remember, we talk about this. Comps are also interesting, right? Because it's one comp. And remember that, guys, right? One golden sale that we hope is paid for doesn't necessarily mean a card should pin to that comp, right? So a couple things, and we've talked about these over the last couple
weeks. There was
an
incredible post. I can't remember her name, but she was doing a YouTube video. Guys, help me out because she does amazing content. She showed two comps, and she said, who won? Is it a golden seller or an alt buyer? And it was a National Treasures Klay Thompson card. Golden sold that card for $24K. On alt, it was bought for $12K.
Right.
And so at the same time, Right? What's the comp there? Is it you split the difference, 18K?
But that's the point, right? So I mean, we talk about like the Jordan Exquisite Numbers patch auto. That is the Golden had a sale at 85 too. That was actually down this week. It was like 65, and we're like, wow, it's 30% below the Golden price, but it actually came down a couple of percent, down to 62.8. So is that people not buying the Golden comp? Is it was there a bidding war there?
It tells you who the buyer at Goldens are. The buyers at Goldens are more wealthy individuals who have nostalgia and kind of not show off, but like they want really cool cards. Versus on Collectable, I think people want more investment cards. So like that Jordan card, I think is like more of a this is just a sick card. You kind of like you bring it out, you're like that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
With Collectible, you're never gonna be like, look at this Jordan patch card I have.
I mean, I bring it up mostly because we talk about comps and they're great, right? It's great to have those comps out there that, PWCC had a sale or Golden had a sale and look at this. It doesn't necessarily mean that the fractional investor is going to pin that investment to the same one sale that just happened, especially because we see the next sale that happens may be significantly lower or significantly higher. It's just one data point. It's just one sale. So it's important to point that stuff out, right?
What else you got? Did you read the paper from Josh Lieber?
I did. I read it. I read the whole thing.
Give me some like highlights.
Listen, I'll tell you this. My summary, without going into point by point, is you can tell that he is excited about the prospects for the hobby, not just for the next 6 months. Like that this is going to be something that they are going to try to do something that avoids the ebb and flow that happens with this hobby. Because I've been in this now for a long time, right? They want to make it so that it's a constant, excitement level, constant flow of product at multiple levels. It's definitely a cool thing to have that sort of like, let's say the best way, youthful exuberance, right? Potentially at the head of the hobby. Does that make sense? It didn't come across as just money.
What I think is, I'm curious is, will there be a civil war, right? Because there is these two sides of the hobby, right? There's the guys and the gals who believe that the hobby should stay a hobby, and whatever definition of that that means, but they're like, this should stay just the way it is.
Yep.
And there's others who do want innovation, growth, a little bit of uncertainty, newness, and I feel like they're always at conflict.
The side that wants it to stay a hobby has already lost.
You believe that?
Already,
they're fighting tooth and nail.
Already, it's not just a hobby anymore. Anybody who sees that doesn't watch breaks. I mean, even the most basic thing in the hobby, opening packs of cards, has become, a content-driven, money-making thing, right? Anybody who doesn't realize you can't go to Target anymore and buy a box of cards thinks that they're still fighting that battle. It's not a hobby; it's straight business.
So strategically, Josh Lieber said, "I'm going to let these guys die off, and I'm going to join in 5 years."
No, I mean, listen, there will still be, quote, fun aspects of this, right? But my son has to realize that he's probably only going to get a Chronicles type of product to open in his price range, right? And then
Fad Zions for everyone.
The hobby people who want it to stay a hobby are then going to have to put up and shut up. They're going to have to say, okay, well, if it's a hobby, there's plenty of cards at every price level, and I'm just going to be able to play with my Chronicles. Or they're going to have to admit the fact that they didn't really want it to be a hobby. They liked it the way that it was because there wasn't big smart money in. They were the smart money before, and they were able to make money on this stuff. They were able to bribe a Target manager or flip retail or whatever it was that was like the easy, fast money. There's not easy, fast money anymore. And I think in reality, the hobby folks who are saying, well, I want to keep it a hobby, they're just mad that they can't just make easy money.
It's fascinating to me. I'll tell you guys, I personally don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I like the kind of like anthropology, sociology of like how an industry matures. Because I mean, honestly, gambling started as kind of sort of like this backyard hobby thing with like, hey, Joe down the street, he'll take your bets, to like, oh, Joe now has an online sports book, to 5 dimes, to now basically you could log onto your app, and in every state, or just about every state, you could bet on FanDuel. So
Yeah,
I love to see it's I
fantasy
don't know.
too.
Let me
Sports
see
betting, fantasy.
that like evolution of how an industry matures. It's really interesting because as much as we all think our opinions matter, they kind of don't, right? It's like that invisible hand Adam Locke always talks about, the invisible hand of capitalism. We're just little peons, as Cage always reminds me. He texts me, guys, every morning. He's like, "You're a peon. Get to work, bitch."
We're peons. We are peons. Anybody who read that, you have to realize we are. But you know what? There's room for us, right? Think of what we just talked about. You can still be nimble because the big guys are not following those Pelicans beat writers that we talked about before, right? So there's still a lane for you to navigate in, but here's the difference. You have to be willing to put in a little bit of work. It used to be easy. It used to be you could throw a dart with your eyes closed and you were going to hit the board and make money, right? A couple years ago, it didn't matter. Right? You could buy any 2012 Prism off eBay, grade it with PSA, make profit, and it didn't matter. I was making money on Andre Drummond. Who made money on Andre Drummond? The guy's terrible. But I was making a killing on Andre Drummond.
But you reinvested that money, right?
Yeah,
And I was
exactly.
thinking a lot about this. Like, I remember when Bol Bol last year in like July had a huge game and his cards went from like 2 to 30, right?
Yep.
We kind of chastise that in the hobby. That's so ridiculous. But, and this is just my opinion, I think that shows health of the hobby because I think you need volatility. I think you need movement, right? I think that's what makes it fun.
Well, listen, we always say, are we having fun? We hope you guys have fun because this is, it's different. The back and forth that we do, the talk of how there may not be a play. Maybe that Tatum, maybe, Zion in a little while. Maybe those are your plays. Maybe there are no plays because just the point of the year that we're in, the parity in the leagues, the doldrums, the baseball ending, maybe there isn't a play. You know what I mean? And I don't think you're getting that anywhere else. We could scour this and find one and just pretend that there is a spectacular play. I happen to like the
there's
Tatum one.
always a play, and that's the interesting thing, and it's how we started. It's the plays in your own mind and in learning, and not just learning, but like also evaluating. Like, let's say you have a disorganized portfolio. Use this lack of volatility period to get organized, to create a strategy. Whatever it is, like, what's funny? Most often than not, I think we know what we need to work on individually to be better collectors and investors. I don't know if you agree with that, Cage.
I do. So can you go
How come you
through?
don't talk about mindset more? Because you have to have the right mindset to win in this game. And in times like this, you have an opportunity to work on it.
Because I think the mindset that I have is a constant grind, right? And that is a mindset, right? I think it's a constant. I'm always looking for a crack to exploit, a window that's open that I can throw my fat ass through, right? I always, that's my mindset. My mindset isn't, and there's more than one mindset to win the day, right? I'm never going to close myself in a room, light the incense, put on the Bob Marley, do some yoga, and look at myself in the mirror naked and tell myself how great I am. That's you. That's not me, right? That's you. Not me. I'm gonna eat a cheeseburger, all right? And
Dude,
I'm gonna maybe a McRib this week. Boom, right? God.
I can't wait for you to write my commercials for
Oh,
me,
it's gonna be
man.
great. Your memoir. Your memoir.
That's not what I said.
The yoga. I know what you said, but the truth of the matter
But
is,
like
sometimes
reading a finance book or a money management book or reading a history book about the industry to get perspective, that could be worth its weight in gold.
I have read a lot of books about the industry, but you know what I do? My research.
Which one would you recommend?
The Bubblegum Wars is a fantastic book. It is a really cool one about Bowman when Bowman was its own company and was not a Topps company, about how Bowman and Topps in the late 40s and early 50s were basically, a warring faction, and how they went out and how Bowman was the leader with their colored cards and Topps was ugly and hideous, and what happened with the 52 Topps set and signing individual players. It's a cool thing. I mean, obviously it's 75 years ago, but it's definitely a cool historical thing and an easy read. I think I read it, on the beach on vacation once, a couple hundred.
Here's another one, guys. Search some really vintage players and read their Wikipedias. It's one of my favorite things to go and like read history and see how you could connect the dots. It's one of my favorite activities. Like Ted Williams, Shoeless Joe Jackson, Satchel Paige. I love reading about these guys. So
also, to anybody who thinks the hobby now is so full of scandals and I can't believe it, and it's big business and big money that's come into it, another book to read is called The Card, and it's the story of the Honus Wagner.
He got a little bored with the title, huh?
No, The Card. It's Wagner. I have it. I can show you a picture of it. It's cool. It's got Wagner on it. Also, quick read, but it's about the story behind that card, about like the one that possibly maybe is trimmed, and how it got there, the winding turns, and the whole 9 yards of it, right? So stuff like that's been around for quite some time. So cool, two cool historical vintage baseball reads. I got to tell you, I'm actually excited for a couple of the releases coming out in the next week. I don't know whether you looked at them. So there's an Ovechkin coming out on Tuesday. That's not the one I'm excited about. There's a Mantle on Wednesday, Mickey Mantle, 1967 Topps PSA 9 with a PWCC A IPO. Here's the two.
Tell you
that I'm
just
we'll
finish the two, and I want to tell you about Mantle.
So on Thursday, there was a LeBron 2003 Fleer EX Essential Credentials Now out of 102 BGS 95.
Anything with an EX now is like a 10 multiplier because Nat Turner and Spinotron collects them.
Well, because it's a numbered card of LeBron, numbered out at 102. That EX Essential, they're cool
People
stuff.
love that set. I got to be honest, I've never understood why they've loved it, but because I asked them why they love it, they say, "How could you not love it?" So it was like, that's not a fair response, but. You guys tell me, do you love that EX? Like, do you guys love like the Kobe EX 2000? Do you guys like this EX set? I don't know. It's interesting.
And then the last one, Sunday, 11/14 primetime, Luka, 2018 Panini Flawless Vertical Gold RPA out of 10, BGS 95. Sweet card. Right, so we'll see what Luka's doing next week. We'll see whether or not, like you said, maybe the prices on Luka kind of move up a little bit, and there, that game winner starts off something. So talk to me about Mantle, and we'll wrap it up.
1 second here. My theory, I don't think that all Mantle cards will hold value for life. Like, there's too many of his cards. Like 1969, 1967. I think it's too much to ask for a new generation. I know his rookie is that's gonna be the grail, but like to ask the new generation to keep up with that Mantle story all the way through every single year, to me, is ridiculous.
So, I mean, the only thing that it has going for it is that he really just has those Topps cards, and he's got a run from 52 to 69, right? So there's 18 years.
It would be cool to collect the set. Actually.
Everyone does that. I mean, the vintage
cool.
collectors do
Gotcha.
that. They do the runs in as high a grade as they can, and they try to upgrade, and that's why those cards carry the way they are, and that's why the cards in the high grade, the 9, there are people who collected an 8, and they're like, well, I'm going to trade up to a 9. Like, there's always that attempt to do it. But I think you might be onto something, right? Because it's different than like Babe Ruth, that didn't have a run of cards, didn't have that. There's random Ruth cards here and there. You get the Gaudies and whatnot. But you might be right, and it is definitely something that I think about with my own personal collection, right? But I'm one of the younger people that collects Mantle cards and Gehrig cards and Yankees. And when I came in, I'm a Yankee fan. I buy Yogi Berra. And I remember a smart person telling me, get rid of the Yogi and buy basketball vintage. Seriously. Get rid of the Yogi and buy basketball vintage. Get rid of the Yogi and buy basketball modern. Just get rid of it, because we talked about it. The dude won more World Series than anybody, won more MVPs than anybody. I mean, just if you look at the accomplishments,
it's an incredible name.
Incredible name and relevant for a long time, but no one cares now, right? And I while you're right, I think people will always care about Mantle. That 52 is going to hold water as a hobby piece of art. But like most people now collecting don't know what the 63 Mantle looks like with the wood border and the fact that he won an MVP that year. Most people don't know what the different Mantles even would look like, right? With the 65 one, he's starting to look old, and the whole 9 yards. So I think about
when
that.
When did he meet Marilyn Monroe? Usually that's what happens.
That was DiMaggio.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Mantle Monroe.
DiMaggio.
Both have last names start with M.
I mean, maybe they all shared alike. I have no idea, but DiMaggio was Marilyn Monroe.
Really? Frankie Sinatra too. By the way, I saw you posted on your IG of you and your boys like hanging out.
You saw that?
You're aging in reverse, man. It's a good thing
I
you met
was fat.
a friend that
That was
keeps
a
you healthy
fighter
and happy.
dinner at Vincent's, an Italian place over here. Then right after weigh-ins, fighters eat like gavons after weigh-in because they don't eat. They got to trim down and cut weight, and then they eat, but no drinking. You notice on the table that's Cheeto Vera, right? One down from me is Cheeto Vera in 2017. He'd only had like 1 or 2 UFC fights, and that's the guy who knocked out Frankie Edgar last night. Just the cool stuff. That was Iridium, Jason House, and his whole crew of fighters came in. Fights were in Nassau Coliseum. Great night of fights last night. Just a little throwback, right? A little throwback fun. But yeah, man.
Let's caveat all this, guys. All of the contents of this episode are our personal opinions. It's just our
It always
personal
is.
opinions. Always is. We try to tell you guys what we're thinking about. Maybe you take some of these things into consideration, run them through your own filter and blender, and something else comes out, and you come back to us and say, "I see things this way." I think some of the best, strategies and ideas come from a little bit of kind of the back and forth that we have with our community. We love you guys. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Cage, you brought the fire today, as you always do. You're the man. Peace.